So I'm talking about inserting slicers in Excel and using slicers to help with making your charts or your dashboards dynamic in that sense. So what you see right now is typical employee data, potential employee data. It is bogus. It doesn't belong to anybody, to any human person or individual. It doesn't belong to any organization at all. Um, so this data is bogus. Doesn't belong. It's just fake, fictitious data. Right. So to insert a slicer, I'm gonna to demonstrate what I want to demonstrate to you and inside a slicer. I want to create a pivot table first. So I'm gonna go to the Insert tab, and then I'm gonna come to here, Pivot Tables. So I'm gonna insert a pivot table quickly in a new worksheet. And when I do that, I'm gonna choose the gender in the rows section. I'm gonna choose the location. I'm gonna drag it over to the column section. I'm gonna choose. Uh, let's say the employee ID. The employee ID will identify each employee uniquely and give me a count of the employees in the company. But right now, what Excel is doing for me, to me right now, is not what I want. This is wrong. I cannot do an addition of employee ID. The only thing I can do with employee IDs is do a count. So I'm going to come here to value field settings and change the sum to count. Okay, so when I do that, I have a count of every employee by gender, by location at the same time. I'm gonna come here. I can also see a grand total of every employee in each location, which is right here. The grand total for everything is 100 employees. 100 employees, 50 of them female, 50 of them male. All right, good. So that is my pivot table, shows my data. Potentially, I want to create another one. Instead of going through the same process of inserting pivot table all over again, what I can do is I can make a copy of this, select all of this, the first pivot table. I can come here and dump it here. A Control V will dump it here. So I have a the same data is listed twice. So I can easily come here and to make it different, I can say I want to see. Okay, I can remove the gender field and pick on the uh, employee job status. So with job status, I have the same count of employees. Look at it. Count of employees is still there. I have the location, as you can see here, and I have the employees by contract, by full time, and then part time also. So potentially, I have two slices, two different cuts of the data. Let's make one more. I'm gonna paste again over here, and then this time I'm gonna choose the pay type. I'm gonna remove the gender. So right now I have by location, I have the pay type. Some employees are paid on an hourly basis, some are paid on a salary basis. So what can I do? Let me delete some of this space. Maybe it's too much. I'm gonna delete. So right now, I can click on any of these charts and insert a pivot chart. So let me do that for the first one. I come here, I click inside the pivot table. I come to pivot table analyze. I can insert a pivot chart easily here by clicking on this. So when I do that, it shows me potentially what it's trying to do for me, kind of chart it can give me. So I'm going to take this as a clustered column chart. I'm going to say OK to that. Now the chart is inserted. First, that's my first option over here. Now I'm going to close this, the field list on the right. I'm going to come to the next pivot table, go to pivot table analyze and insert another chart. It's showing me pretty much the same thing, but to make it different, I'm going to choose, let's choose a pie chart this time. Pie chart. Pie chart is unique in that it basically can handle just two parameters. In this pivot table, I have three parameters. I have the location, I have the employee type, and I have the count of the employees. But right now, pivot table is potentially, I'm going to choose a 3D pie chart, is potentially showing me uh, two parameters of the data by uh, the job status and also the location. So right now, I'm gonna come to the. So it's showing me the pie. Let's just leave it like this for now. The pie chart is here. I'm going to drag it over. So you can see that potentially I'm building a dashboard, as you can see. What's a dashboard? A dashboard is a report that has different kinds of report elements in it. It can be a table, like we have over here on the left. It can be different kinds of charts, graphs, or geospatial maps, something like that. Let me do one more. This one, I'm going to insert a pivot table again. Click on pivot table, analyze, and pivot chart rather, is what I'm going to insert. Pivot chart over here, and I can choose potentially, let's say I choose a stacked column chart. Okay, it's gonna look like this. It's a bit different from the clustered column chart. Okay, so now I have all the charts in place. I can format the charts a little bit. If I come to design, I can come here and pick this option from the styles. Same thing with the 3D pie chart that I have over here. I can come over here for the same, pick a different style for this one. Oh, it's appeared. Design. Let me choose this for the last one. So now you can see three different charts uh, in my data. So I have three different charts, three different notations. I'm going to add a quick thing, the labels to these ones quickly. Labels, I'm going to go to labels. I have to do it for each one. Labels, labels. This one too, labels. And with that, with the labels, I want to add also, I'm going to go to format data labels and go to add category name. Uh, yes, this one too. I'm going to add category name for each one. Category name for each one. So it shows us what's going on with each one. Now I want for this one I want series name actually. So it's series name, not category name. Series name for this one, also series name for this one, also series name. Okay, it's a bit clustered, but you'll see what I mean. I'm gonna remove the legend on this one, and then so this one shows full-time uh, uh, contract and then part-time, and same thing for here. So let's leave that for now. So I'm just gonna go straight to inserting the pivot, the slicers. I'm gonna remove this. So I'm gonna insert. Just a quick thing to do: insert a space here. Yeah. So potentially I can insert my slicers here. So I can go select one of the charts or one of the tables. I can go to pivot chart analyze and come here, insert slicer. When I insert the slicer, it's gonna and I click on the sex, the location, the job status, and the pay type, pretty much any of them, I can come here and say, uh, okay, now I have the slicers inserted over here. Depending on the way you wish to display uh, your slicers, you can come here. As long as the slicer is selected, you can come here and increase the number of columns. So for now, it looks like that. For location, I'm going to do the same thing, increase the number of columns, 4. And then format, no, I'm going to format the slicer like that so it fits into that space. I'm just trying to make it look good. That's you don't have to do all of this. Whatever works for you is fine. Again, 3 columns here. Same thing here. For page type, I'm going to reduce it, the size of it. Okay, so now one thing to do is, so I want this, I want it to happen that when I make selections here, the chart is updated. It's the selection reflects on the chart, also reflects on the tables over here. So to make sure I do that with every chart, I can come here, select on this slicer, go to report connections, and select. So these are the pivot tables that I have in my chart. I can make sure I select all the pivot charts on this page. So if I select all of them, what happens is when I click on any of the buttons over here, it should update all of the pivot charts potentially here and all of the pivot charts and the pivot tables at the same time. This is what I'm saying. If I click on female, you can see that all the numbers are updated here, and all the numbers on the charts are also updated. If I click on the males, the numbers change, they're updated. I'm gonna do the same for the slice, this slicer, the location slicer. I'm gonna click on all of this, check all of these boxes, every pivot table. I'm gonna do the same here for the job status location slicer, and also for the last one, the pay type. The implication is that when I click any of the slicers, all those pivot tables updated. And don't forget the pivot tables, they power the charts. So right now, pivot tables are set. I have made the pivot, the slicers uh, look like they are buttons, like on a website, something like that. That's the point. That's the effect I want you to have, so that the user can make selections easily. And there's a lot of aesthetic value to it. So look at this. If I click on Montreal, you can see that all the charts are updated for Montreal only. Montreal hourly salary, Montreal female, male, and all the people that work in Montreal are here. Contract, part time, full time. When I click on Vancouver, you can see everything is updated. The tables are updated, the charts are updated. Vancouver, 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 Vancouver here. Most people that I know dealing with this kind of thing will hide this table, this particular table, and the tables on over here, so that all you see basically is the dashboard. So if I come here and we can also make multiple selections here. If I click on Winnipeg and Vancouver, now I see Vancouver and Winnipeg, Vancouver and Winnipeg. Vancouver uh, will be the big one, and Winnipeg the other one. This is a combination of all the data, and then you see here Vancouver, uh, Winnipeg, and then based on hourly and salary. So the pivot table has become very dynamic. When I make a click, when I make a selection, the charts are updated, the tables are updated easily. That is how you can use a slicer to make your charts, to make your dashboard very dynamic. So I can come here, also make multiple selections here. If I click on uh, contract workers here, it's going to update the, again. If I click on, by holding down the control key, I can make multiple selection for each button. You can see the update of the data at the end of the day. So the breakdown is there, the labels are there, and it's a very, very easy way to make your chart look very dynamic. Okay, so here is an example of something I've done in the past. This is the way it will look over here. So here I have, in this particular chart, I have a bar chart here, pie chart here, and then a line chart here. The line chart deals with year. So if I choose 2008 and 2009, by holding down the control key, you can see that the data is updated in each case over time over here. And then I can click on Alberta for the same time period. So one more thing before I go, I can insert a timeline to my data, into my data, pretty much like a slicer by coming over here. If your data has, so let me go back to my original data. I can insert, uh, I can come over here and insert a timeline. Yeah, under pivot table analyze, I can insert a timeline. If your data has chronological data, it has time data. So here easily it automatically identifies the two fields in my data that have time or dates in them, the hire date and the birth date. When I say okay, it's going to insert a timeline to my data also with the hire date and the birth date. And with that, I have the options of choosing years. So it's going to show me the timeline over years so that I can look at it that way, or quarters, or months, or days. So if I choose years right now, I can filter on hire date year on my data and have the charts also updated. But I need to come here again and select all the pivot options so that when I make a selection there, it reflects on all the data. So this is what I'm saying. Let me move this apart. If I come here and make a selection for year, so between 2005 and 2014, I make a selection and say, I just want to see 2000, 5 to 2009, you can see all the data is updated. If I change it again to 2007, everything is updated.